You may be waking up with a knot in your chest today. You may be holding a question that feels too big for your small hands. You may have been told to obey, to step forward, to trust, even when you do not see the whole plan. That can be hard. It can feel like someone asking you to walk a trail before telling you where it leads. You look down. You see a path. You cannot see the end. You worry about the cliffs beyond the trees. You worry about stepping wrong. It is normal to worry. It is honest to be afraid. You might also feel like you need full explanation first. You want the map before you move. You want the reasons written in black and white. That is a very human desire. Yet life often asks for a step before the explanation arrives. This is not a failing. This is part of how you learn to trust. When Psalm 13 says, "The psalm writer felt forgotten and asked hard questions to God. He wondered where God was and why things hurt. He was honest about the pain. He also kept speaking to God, even while he felt lost." That psalm shows a real human way or being with God. You are allowed to ask it the same questions. You are also allowed to stay in the question and walk forward. The psalm does not force you to have all answers before moving. It shows that pain and faith can sit together. It teaches that you can be honest and still keep your feet moving. Think of obedience like learning to walk on a new floor. The floor might creak in places. You take small steps. Your first steps are cautious. The second step is braver. After a while, you trust the floor. You do not need the full map. You learn by stepping. Then you learn how the floor reacts under your weight. That is part of growing. You are not stupid for needing to test the ground. You are not sinful for having questions. You are simply human and learning. God knows this about you. He meets you in your questions. You might worry that choosing obedience without full understanding is naive. It is not naivety. It is a disciplined hope. Obedience is a small act of trust. It says, "I do not have all the answers, but I will take the next right step." Obedience does not erase fear. It walks with fear, carrying a small light. Imagine a child holding a parent's hand in a dark place. The child cannot see everything. The child trusts the hand. That is a gentle picture of what obedience can look like. Not mindless following, not blind leaps, just a steady, humble choice to move with God's hand. But you may also feel misunderstood by others when you choose this way. Some people want explanations now. Others think obedience without understanding is foolish. That can hurt. That can make you second guess. Remember that your relationship with God is primary. It is between you and God. You do not need everyone's approval to walk forward. You need a steady heart. You need a listening ear. Sometimes obedience grows quietly. It is like a seed under soil. The world does not always clap for the first shoot, but a seed still becomes a shoot when tended. So start small. Choose one small act of obedience today. Maybe it is forgiveness. Maybe it is a kind word. Maybe it is turning off worry for a few minutes and sitting in silence. These small things become practice. They build a muscle of trust, but they help you respond well when the big tests come. There is no need to rush your soul. God is patient. He is not asking you to move faster than you can. He is asking you to move toward Him, even if you do not see the full landscape yet. Keep your heart honest. Keep asking questions. Keep walking. Now let this teaching begin to turn us softer and quieter. Let us breathe out the fear a bit. You may want to bow your head. You may simply sit quietly. Hear the steadiness in your chest. Notice the next breath coming in and out. It is enough to begin with this breath. Let that breath become a small prayer in your mind. Say the first tiny words that feel truthful. Thank you for being close, even when I do not understand. Help me take one small step today. Keep me gentle with myself as I learn. Yet you do not have to say more than that right now. When trouble comes, you are not alone. You may feel slow. That is okay. God walks slowly with you. He bends down to match your pace. This is not the quick fix you sometimes want. It is steady presence. Imagine God like a patient teacher showing how to use a tool. He watches your hands. When you fumble, He corrects gently. He does not scold. He smiles when you try again. Obedience before full understanding is often taught that way. You learn by doing, not by perfect knowledge. You can carry this truth into your day. Remember the Psalm's honesty. Ask your hard questions aloud. Then make a tiny step. Trust that asking will not break your faith. Trust that small steps matter. You are not being foolish. You are growing. This is a long, kind work. May keep company with people who listen without fixing everything. Let their soft presence remind you that you are safe to learn. Now, as you move from teaching toward prayer, allow the words to become softer. Invite God into the small places you fear. You do not need to have everything figured out. You can offer the questions and the willingness to take one obedient step. God hears both. He honors both. Stay here a moment and breathe into that truth. Let your next action be simple and steady. Keep your heart open to the gentle guidance that comes, sometimes as a whisper, sometimes as a clear turning of the path. Trust that the path is being made as you walk it. You may be surprised by how much growing can happen inside a difficult season. Hard times can shape you like a potter shapes clay. They press and turn the vessel, and they do not leave you the same. You might have recently walked through a loss, a job change, a broken dream, or a hard word. Those things can feel unfair. You can feel small in the middle of them. Yet these very seasons often hold the most learning. You learn what matters most. You learn where your hope really lives. You learn how strong your faith can be when it is exercised. This is not to romanticize pain. Pain hurts. It is real. But pain can also be a teacher in tender ways. Psalm 119 says, "This long, patient poem speaks about loving God's instructions and trusting God's ways, even when things are confusing. It shows someone who keeps returning to the pattern of God's guidance." That psalm shows the value of steady obedience. It is not a one-time hero leap. It is day after day, turning toward what is true. When you walk through a tough season, you can choose small, repeated actions. These actions become the way you are shaped. Imagine a stone in a stream. Water keeps moving over it. Over time, the stone becomes smooth. It does not mean the stone enjoyed the water. It simply means the constant flow shaped it. Your consistent turning toward obedience can shape you, gently and surely. When you obey without full understanding, you are learning endurance. Endurance is not simply stubbornness. It is patient faith. It looks like choosing kindness when you are tired. It looks like saying yes to truth when confusion whispers no. It looks like praying again, even when prayers feel dry. These are small acts of perseverance. They matter more than you know. You are building a life that will not crack under pressure. You are forming habits of the heart. These habits will help you when a storm arrives. Growth through difficulty also depends on community. You are not meant to grow alone. Find a friend who will listen to the ugly parts of your heart. Find someone who will pray when you cannot. Share a meal. Share a short walk. Share a tear. These small things are part of how God shapes you. They are not a sign of weakness. They are tools of grace. Sometimes the most spiritual thing you can do is to admit you are not okay and let someone hold that honesty with you. If you feel stuck, start with one practice. Read a short verse. Write one sentence to God. Thank Him for one small thing in the day. These simple spiritual habits are like drops of water on a seed. They bring life. Keep them gentle. Keep them regular. Over months, they produce real change. You may not notice day by day, but in months and years, the difference will be clear. The person you become in the hard season will be wiser and more tender. As teaching now becomes prayer, speak quietly to God. Say, "Lord, help me keep showing up. Teach me to take small steps of obedience. When I do not understand, remind me of your steady love. Help me to be patient with the slow work you are doing. Give me friends who will walk with me in this growth. Keep my heart soft when the pressure comes. Help me to trust the shaping process and to keep walking, even when the path is unclear." Perseverance is a simple truth in the Bible that can change your daily life. It is not an abstract idea. It is a practical habit. It is choosing the next right thing again and again. The Bible calls people to keep going even when hope seems faint. Is that keeping going is not a cold rule. It is a warm invitation to trust. The invitation is not to work harder to earn God's favor. It is to open your hands and let God's grace do its steady work within you. Psalm 27 says, this psalm speaks about waiting quietly and trusting God's good presence, even in scary moments. It encourages you to be brave and to keep your eyes on God when fear tries to steal your hope. Perseverance often grows from this kind of quiet courage. It is being still enough to know God is there. It is choosing to stand and to wait with faith. Waiting does not mean doing nothing. Waiting can be an active trust. It looks like prayer, steady obedience, and hope. It is like holding a lantern while walking at night. You move forward. You also keep watch. When you practice perseverance, you will meet two common traps. The first is hurry. Hurry pushes you to demand answers before you are ready. Hurry can make you anxious. It will often make poor choices. The second trap is despair. Despair tells you that obedience is pointless. It wears out your heart. Perseverance stands between these traps. It keeps you moving without panic. It keeps you hopeful without pretending pain is not real. Make small plans for perseverance. Decide on a short prayer you can return to all day. Choose one verse that helps you remember God is near. Find a simple way to serve someone this week. These small acts will steady you. Over time, you will see growth that feels real and lasting. It will not be a quick fix. It will be a quiet forming of your soul. As this teaching shifts gently into prayer, speak to God with honest, short words. Say, God, give me the courage to wait well. Help me to keep doing the next right thing. When I am tempted to hurry or to give up, remind me of your presence. Let me hold on to hope. Teach me to be brave in ordinary ways. I do not need grand gestures. I need steady, small steps. There is a gentle warning to consider today. It is easy to confuse legalism with faith. Legalism says, do more, and you will earn favor. Legalism brings rules without heart. It can make obedience a heavy duty. On the other hand, laziness says, I do not have to try. Both extremes miss the posture of trust. Jesus invites you into a relationship. He calls you to follow him, not to follow a checklist. Your heart matters as much as your actions. There must be a turning toward him, not simply toward a set of rules. Psalm 23 says, this well-loved psalm paints God as a shepherd who guides and cares for his sheep. It talks about rest, leading, and gentle care. When you imagine God as your shepherd, it helps you move away from stern rule-keeping. It helps you focus on following a loving guide. The shepherd walks ahead. He also looks back to see where his sheep are. He knows when they need rest. This picture helps you see that obedience is not a cold obligation. It is following someone who loves you and knows where to lead you. So here is the gentle warning. If you find your obedience full of pride, or if it leaves your heart hard, step back. If your obedience is aimed at impressing others, not at meeting Jesus, reorient. You can ask yourself a simple question. Am I obeying to be seen, or am I obeying to be close to Jesus? It is a small check, but it helps a lot. When obedience comes out of relationship, it transforms you. It becomes grace, not performance. Another warning is about fear-based obedience. Fear can make you follow rules in a defensive way. Fear says, if I do not do this, God will be angry. Fear tightens your chest and narrows your vision. It often leads to hiding, not to healthy growth. But when you obey from love and trust, you are freed to be honest. You can confess your struggle and still move forward. You can tell God your doubts. The shepherd hears that and still guides. Turn your focus toward Jesus today by remembering how he walked. He invited people to come near. He healed and restocked the weary. He also taught about the heart more than the checklist. You can follow that example. Let your obedience come from wanting to be like him, and let it come from wanting to walk where he walks. This keeps your steps light and your heart tender. Now begin to turn your words to Jesus. Speak softly. Say, Lord Jesus, help me not to get trapped by rules. Pull me back when I begin to try to impress others. Let my obedience be born from love for you. Lead me gently, like a shepherd who knows every sheep. When fear tightens my hands, open them. Teach me to follow you because you are good, not because I fear consequences alone. Keep my heart tender and willing. The refining process can feel lonely. It is often quiet, like heat under a silent lid. You might feel like a broken thing in need of fixing. God's refining work is not always dramatic. It is steady and precise. Think of a silversmith holding silver over a flame. The heat is intense at first. The impurities rise to the surface. Now the silversmith watches carefully. When the silver reaches the right color, he cools it and works it further. It is a patient, careful process. You are not a failure for undergoing it. You are being made ready. Psalm 66 says, it speaks of being tested and refined like metal. It shows gratitude for the way God passes people through hard places and brings them out. The psalm teaches that testing can lead to praise when we see God's hand. This is not to say that testing is pleasant. It can be hard and painful. But the psalm gives a hopeful view. It says that pain can produce a song of thankfulness when God's purposes unfold. You do not have to like the heat. You can, however, trust that the heat has a meaning. During refining, you may feel impatient. You may want the heat to stop. You may want the end of the process now. As that is understandable, but know that refining is not punishment. It is preparation. It is how God makes you more useful and more beautiful for His purposes. It does not mean He loves you less. Quite the opposite. He spends time on you because you matter to Him. How can you cooperate with refining? First, practice honesty. Tell God how you feel. Tell Him the fear, the pain, and the confusion. He can handle it. Second, keep small acts of faith. Obey the small things that come next. They are like holding the vessel steady while the silversmith works. Third, find a safe person to walk with you. Sometimes God uses friends to reflect your new shape back to you. They notice what you cannot see. You might also name the hope that holds you. Hope is like an anchor in the storm. It keeps you steady, even when winds blow. And naming hope helps your feet find balance. Remember past moments when God carried you. Remember small miracles or comforts. These memories are not cheap nostalgia. They are proof that God works in real ways. They will help you trust the refining process. Now let your teaching become a prayer of surrender. Say, Father, I bring the places that feel hot and painful. I do not like the heat, but I ask you to shape me. Keep your hands on me. Take out what is not useful. Make me ready for the work you have for me. Give me patience when the process takes longer than I hoped. Help me to see your purpose, even in the small changes. Surround me with steady friends who will speak truth and love. Hold on to hope in the final stretch. There is promise and reward for those who choose obedience before full understanding. The Bible does not promise an easy life in the sense of no trouble. It promises God's presence through trouble. It promises that obedience and faithfulness have fruit. Sometimes the fruit is obvious. Sometimes it is gentle and inward. You might receive peace, wisdom, or a new capacity to love. You might also see tangible doors open. Reward can be both spiritual and practical. Psalm 91 says, it speaks of God's shelter and protection. It paints a picture of being held in a place of safety under God's care. This does not promise that you will never face trouble. It promises God's nearness and His keeping power. When you choose obedience before understanding, you step into a shelter that is real and reliable. This shelter does not remove all storms. It changes how you weather them. You can stand under the shelter with courage because you are